This is an installation video for the revision vending machine door for a National 147 machine. The following items are included in your installation kit. Revision door, instructions, number sheet and roll, lock bar latches, bucket diverters, magnets, power supply, door stop, nut, plate, and hinge, wheel assembly, VE8387 THK harness, grounding wire kit, self-tapping screws, flathead Allen screws, nylon clamps, and a blue and white powering cable. You will need the following tools: 1/4 inch nut driver, 3/8 inch nut driver, 7/16 inch nut driver, 11/32 inch nut driver, flathead screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, adjustable wrench, power drill, penetrating oil, socket wrench set, and a hexagonal key. Prior to installation, turn off the power to the vending machine and unplug it from its power source. If your machine has a factory gum and mint tray attached to the bucket, please remove it. This is done by removing the 2 bolts, one on each side of the bucket, using a 3/8 inch nut driver or socket. Disconnect the gum and mint tray harness, which comes out from the cabinet from the jumper board. This is located on the tray motor mount at the bottom of the bucket. Next, you will remove the vend bucket. First, remove the bucket diverter located on the left side of the bucket. Use the 1/4 inch nut driver or socket for the top screw and an 11/32 nut driver or socket for the 2 side screws. Next, detach the bucket guard located at the top of the vend bucket. To do this, you will remove the 2 screws on each side and then the 2 screws in the middle. Remove the screws holding the vend bucket to the factory door. Depending on the bucket, there can be as little as 2 or as many as 4 screws on each side, totaling 4 to 8 screws. Remove the bucket from the door and place it off to the side. Next, you will remove the factory door. Remove the door stop from the bottom of the door using a 7/16 socket or nut driver. You will want to keep this door stop to reuse on your new revision door. Next, you will remove the top hinge from inside the door using a 7/16 inch socket. A flathead screwdriver might be necessary as well. Disconnect the bottom hinge. There are 2 types of hinges. If your door has the lift-off style, simply lift up and remove the door. Remove the hinge from the bottom of the door by removing the 2 screws and nuts using a 7/16 inch socket or a flathead screwdriver. Make sure you have a partner to help you remove the door. Place the door out of the way of your machine. If your door has a hinge similar to the top hinge, you will need to remove the 2 screws and nuts from the bottom of the door using a 7/16 inch socket or a flathead screwdriver. Disconnect the door switch harness from the door switch. Open your controller assembly and disconnect the keypad display harness from the control board. This is done by applying pressure away from the ribbon harness. Remove the service door by loosening the 5 1/4 inch screws, securing it in place. You may want to keep 1 screw halfway in place so the unit does not fall abruptly after loosening the last screw. Remove the bracket from the service door by removing the 3 1/4 inch screws. Remove the old cash box bracket, and coin chute. Remove anything attached to the 3 control boards from the controller assembly. We recommend keeping all the wire clips off the controller assembly to secure new wiring for a cleaner application. Remove the PCB assembly for the CoinMech and validator interface. Next, you will remove the controller interface. Detach the control board, then remove the green ground wire. Remove the lock bar latches using a Phillips or flathead screwdriver, depending on your machine. Remove the 4 screws that hold the 2 OEM lock bar latches in place. Keep these screws for reuse on the replacement latches. Install the new replacement lock bar latches, open end up, using the screws that you have previously removed from the OEM latches. These latches are adjustable to ensure proper closing and locking of the door. It might take multiple attempts to pinpoint the exact adjustment necessary due to the inconsistency of the cabinets. Installing your new revision door. Starting with the bottom bracket, if your machine has the two-part lift-off hinge, install the supplied nut plate and hinge to the bottom of the door. Use the two supplied screws using a 5/32 inch hex key. If you do not have the two-part hinge, you will have to install the screws holding the door on the machine. Do not tighten the screws all the way until the door is on the machine and adjusted. For the top bracket, hold the door so that the holes in the top line up with the hinge holes. Hold the bolt plate on the inside top of the door while inserting and tightening the screws. Do not tighten the screws tight until the door is on the machine and adjusted. Attach the support leg to the stud on the bottom of the door to the point that the leg is an inch above the ground using a 7/16 socket. Attach the rubber cap onto the leg support. Attach the wheel assembly to the door using the provided self-tapping screws. Adjust the assembly to the highest possible position. The final adjustment will be done in a later step. Installing the doorstop arm. Connect the doorstop arm before adjusting the door. Insert the doorstop arm through the hole in the left side of the cabinet. Insert the spacer and screw through the hole in the doorstop arm, then through the screw hole bottom hinge plate. Hand tighten the nut onto the bottom of this screw. Note, do not fully tighten the screw until the door is on the machine and adjusted. This system allows for adjusting the door in and out as well as left and right for proper alignment. Note, the machine must be level on the floor. Make sure before starting that all 4 door bolts are loose, 1.5 turns from tight. Carefully cut the zip ties that attach the door cabinet harness to the door. Use caution not to cut the harness. This must be done before closing the door. Place 3 magnets provided in your kit on the left side, which is the side with the hinges. These magnets are used as spacers. When closing the door, do not force or slam the door. This may cause damage to the door frame or lock bar. Latch the door closed. Push the door on the left side or hinge side against the magnets. Tighten the exposed door screws on the top and bottom hinges using a 5/32 hex key. Very carefully open the door just far enough to access the second screws on the top and bottom hinges and tighten. Remove the magnets and check the alignment. Adjust the door accordingly by loosening the hinge screws. The door can be moved left, right, and in and out. Additional adjustment can be obtained by moving the lock bar latches in and out. After the door adjustment is completed, final adjustment of the wheel can be made. Loosen the self-tapping screws that secure the assembly. Adjust the wheel so that it barely touches the floor of the cabinet. Tighten the self-tapping screws, then tighten the Phillips head screws until it touches the door front. Installing the wiring harness. Remove all trays from the cabinet. Insert the main door cabinet harness through the top hole in the left-hand side of the machine cabinet. To complete this task, you will have to remove each pin header. You must remove one header and insert one plug at a time, so you don't confuse a pin header with an inappropriate plug. You must then reinsert the pin header in the appropriate direction. Once the entire door cabinet harness is inserted through the cabinet hole and pin headers are reinserted correctly, the harness needs to be mounted to the back of the cabinet using 3 VE7373K self-tapping screws and 3 VE4653K black nylon clamps. Attach the 5 plugs on the door cabinet harness to their corresponding cabinet harness plug. Count the pins coming out of each pin header of the door cabinet harness and match them to the appropriate plug. Mounting the power supply. Using the 4 screws, which should be reused from one of the 3 boards removed from the controller assembly panel, mount the supplied power supply to the controller assembly panel. This power supply is pre-mounted to a black offset board plate. Be sure to place the heat sink facing the bottom of the panel. Reinstall the controller assembly panel back into the cabinet by sliding it back into its appropriate position on the top right side of the cabinet. Plug the black and red power cable into the left side of the power supply, black cable up. Provided in your kit is an additional blue and white power cable. Insert the smaller square plug into the right side of the power supply. There are 2 additional plugs on this harness. The plug end without the pin header is not used and does not get plugged into any other harness. The plug with the pin header will connect into the machine power harness. Mount the provided power supply cover to the standoffs that are mounted to the power supply board plate using a Phillips screwdriver. The bent side of the cover will face the front of the machine. Secure all wiring to the controller assembly panel using the original OEM wire clips saved from a prior step. When proceeding with this step, do not pull the wiring too tight. Leave some additional slack. Next, you will mount the ground wire cable by securing one end of the green ground wire cable to the revision door as shown using a VE7373K self-tapping screw. Installing the cash box and cash box bracket. Slide the new cash box bracket into the same location as the previous one. Using 3 VE7373K self-tapping screws, secure the new bracket into this location. The new mounting holes will not line up with the old ones, which means it is necessary to use the supplied self-drilling screws. The 2 VE7207 nuts, also located on the cash box bracket, are for adjustment to line the top of the funnel to the bottom of the coin mech. This is to assure your coins will fall properly into the cash box. Install your coin mech on the inner wall and close your new revision door. Reach through the vent bucket opening and raise or lower your funnel to be about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom of the coin mech. Next, you will reinstall your product trays. Prepping the vent bucket. Insert the new 110 through 168 item tabs to replace the former A1 through G4 selections to match proper selections throughout the UCB. If you're using an OEM gum or mint tray, you will need a VE4319 harness supplied in your kit. This harness replaces the jumper board that is normally used on a National 147 gum and mint tray by using a male-to-male connector that plugs directly into the gum and mint tray harness that comes out of the cabinet. If you are using a new VE gum and mint tray for a National 147, you will need a VE8387 THK harness with a male-to-male connector attached. Both harnesses are included in your revision door installation kit. If you are using a VE8387 THK, you must remove the male-to-male connector from the VE4319 harness and insert it on the VE8387 THK harness. Install your bucket back onto the door. One person can do this, but we recommend 2 people. Installing your new bucket diverters. Looking at the front of the bucket, the rectangular or bent bucket diverter is installed onto the right side of the bucket next to the cash box. It is recommended to use the nuts and bolts that held the old diverter on. Next, install your 5-sided bucket diverter on the left hinge side of the bucket. If you are using the OEM gum and mint tray, reinstall it onto the bucket. Install the new Gum and Mint product selection label provided with your kit. Plug your replacement tray motor harness directly into the Gum and Mint tray harness coming out of the cabinet. Plug your machine back into the power source, turn it on, and make sure the door is functioning correctly. For any installation questions, please call Vendors Exchange at 1-800-321-2311.